Hello everyone, how are we doing? It is iCave Dave here. It is 10 o'clock here in the UK. It is a different time in California. But we're here. How is everyone? Make sure if you are there in the live chat for me, just let me know that things are working, that you can hear me, all that good stuff. And we'll just we'll crack on with this. I have got the audio on in the background at the moment from the Apple call. I'm not going to put it up loud because I'm not planning to sort of restream it, but that's the plan right for now. So how's everyone doing? Let me know if you can hear me and you can see me down in the comments. Fingers crossed it should all be looking okay. Eric Ball, sounds good. Thank you very much. Eric, I believe you joined the notification squad just recently. Okay, we have the event is starting.
Director, Investor Relations and Corporate Finance. Please go ahead.
Thank you. Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us. Speaking first today is Apple CEO Tim Cook.
So I've included down in the comments section, in the description rather, the link so you can actually listen along. If you've got another tab or another device that you can have a listen on.
Today will consist of forward-looking statements, including, without limitation, those regarding.
But we have actually already had the results themselves. They've been published on Apple's news website, and the results are pretty good. We have got 89 billion, I believe, in total net sales, which is 72 billion from products and 16.9 billion from services. This is all stuff that's going to be increasing pretty soon, but that's the important stuff.
Form 10-K and the Form 8-K filed with the SEC today, along with the associated press release. Apple assumes no obligation to update any forward-looking statements or information which speak as of their respective dates. I'd now like to turn over the call to Tim.
So we're going over to Tim Cook first of all.
Thanks, Tejas. Good afternoon, everyone, and thanks for joining the call today.
If you've got any questions, slam them down in the comments.
One where we set new March quarter records for both revenue and earnings.
New March quarter record.
Revenue performance by 54%. Reflecting both the enduring ways our products have helped our users meet this moment in their own lives, as well as the optimism consumers seem to feel about better days ahead.
At Golden S, what's what?
Records in every geographic segment, and success was broadly distributed across our categories. Mac and services delivered all-time record results, and we set new March quarter records.
Stephen Huxtable, hey, how are you doing?
And wearables, home, and accessories.
So right now Tim's just started chatting, so if you want to listen into the call properly, the link is in the description.
Strong performance for iPhone, which grew 66% year over year.
iPhone grew 66% year on year.
The iPhone 12 family. With unmatched 5G capability, the best camera system ever in an iPhone, and advanced durability from Ceramic Shield, this family of devices is popular with both upgraders and new
12 a.m. stream. Yeah, it's 10 p.m. here, Golden S. Sorry, guys.
iPhone 12 and 12 mini.
Hang on, let me.
As has been the case throughout the pandemic, iPad and Mac continue to be critically important tools for our customers. Over the past year, tens of millions of iPads and Macs have been deployed to help students learn, creators create, and to enhance remote work in all of its forms. This has helped iPad grow very strong double digits to its highest March quarter revenue in nearly a decade.
So iPad's had a great quarter as well. I put slow mode on 30 seconds just because we got spammed last time.
Momentum for the product category. In fact, the last 3 quarters for Mac have been its 3 best quarters ever. Last week, both iPad and Mac took a big step forward. We debuted a radically redesigned, brand new iMac designed around M1's unmatched capabilities.
I'm just talking about M1 being added to the iMac.
In a new iPad Pro with 5G capability and a Liquid Retina XDR display. It was a quarter of sustained strength for wearables, home, and accessories, which grew by 25% year over year. Apple Watch is a global success story, and the category set March quarter records in each geographic segment, thanks to strong performance from both Apple Watch Series 6 and Apple Watch SE. It's an exciting and busy period ahead for wearables, home, and accessories with the launch of the next generation Apple TV 4K and our newest accessory, AirTag.
So Golden S, they're up like massively on what people expected.
Helping users privately and securely keep track of the items that matter most to them. Third-party accessories and products can also make use of the Find My network, guaranteeing a great experience no matter
this is
what you choose to use.
Tim's now telling everyone about Find My network.
We achieved growth of 27%.
How many of you guys have got the actual stream going as well in the background, or are you actually listening to it in the background of mine?
We continue to enhance and improve our current service offerings from Apple Music to Apple News, while continuing to launch new services.
Everything seems to be up.
Enhance our customers' lives. Just last week, we introduced Apple Card Family, which
So while he's talking about Apple Card Family, which I don't think anyone's probably interested in, like in the world, not just on my stream, I'll run quickly through what we've got here. So, $72.6 billion in revenue on products versus 44.9 the previous year, and 16.9 versus 16.9 versus 13.3 the previous year. And so that gives them a total sales of just under $90 billion. And their record quarter of like ever was the 111 billion from the last one, right? Now talking about the App Store privacy nutrition labels and probably the push forward into tracking transparency.
Gives users a choice over how their data is used and shared across the apps that they love and use every day. No matter what device you enjoy it from, it is a milestone period for Apple TV Plus, racking up many new award nominations and wins.
Award nominations for Apple TV Plus. Right, let's just run down the stock sheets here and stuff.
With a multitude of awards and nominations, including most recently,
yeah, they're doing pretty good.
AFI Program of the Year recognition, Writers Guild of America Awards, and a clean sweep at the Critics' Choice Awards. Apple TV Plus also continues to be a place where we can tell stories that matter and lift up important voices and experiences, like our new upcoming content partnership with Malala.
Hey Lego Vlogger, how you doing? How you doing?
Special, The Year the Earth Changed, narrated by the legendary David Attenborough and released to commemorate Earth Day. This is, of course, just one example of how Apple lives its values and operationalizes the idea.
iPhone 12 just did insanely well this year.
To begin with our
and people didn't think they would be buying it without a charger or headphones, but people just wanted it because it's just one of the best, honestly, one of the best iPhones they've released in a very, very long time. And that's right, Stephen, not going bust anytime soon.
We're proud to play a role in the growing ripple of change taking place across the private sector. As of this month, 110 of our suppliers have joined us in our renewable energy commitment, and we will bring online nearly...
Now talking about bringing more of their suppliers online with renewable energy.
4 million gas-powered vehicles off the road each year. Through Apple's $4.7 billion in green bonds and related efforts, we've supported transformative environmental projects around the world, from clean energy initiatives in China.
Thomas, hey, how you doing? So, yeah, iPhone SE2 selling in buckets. Yeah, they've sold a huge number of those, even though it's like a really dull phone. It's very boring. There's nothing exciting about it, but, you know, people just want an iPhone, and if they can get one for that kind of price, especially, like, I guess the older generation who are a little bit more price sensitive, probably, some real, like, it's a real value thing. Like, $399, that's just ridiculous for the amount of power you get with that. Manuel Welkowitz, thank you very much. Love the new haircut, thank you. Yeah, I did this myself this afternoon because barbers are still a nightmare here.
As we look forward to WWDC, we're taking new steps to foster, to support...
Talking about WWDC now. Bought two SEs from parents, yeah. Perfect phone for that. I said as soon as the SE came out, the like new one, that it's your perfect perfect phone for like sales forces as well. If you're sending people out on the road, you need a cheapy one. Linda Lawson, hey, how you doing? No coffee for me now because it is 10:10 at night, so we're not
hands-on technology labs.
we're not going for the caffeine right now.
Harlem Capital, it also shares insights and mentorship on building and scaling an app business.
So we're kind of listening to Tim talk about just what's going on in general. Is my mic a little bit too loud there, or is it okay? Just let me know in the chat.
5 years, we will invest $430 billion.
Yes, absolutely. No charger and no earphones became the norm basically so quickly.
American innovation and drive economic benefits in every state, including
The reason that they had to take them out though is because the 5G chips cost like $150 each. That was the main reason they had to take it out. Wine o'clock, Linda? I'm impressed. I'm impressed.
whether you're running a business.
Sounds perfect. Excellent stuff.
Family again after more than a year. It's tempting at this moment to let hope about the end of the COVID-19 pandemic outstrip clear-eyed realism about the challenges we still face.
So if you guys have got any questions, by the way, throw them in. If it's general Apple stuff, that's absolutely fine. Doesn't have to be just about the financials. We'll just have a good chat about whatever's going on. Did you see my new friend here? This one I picked up from eBay just down the road yesterday for £21. That's pleased me no end.
Health and safety of our teams and extending well beyond our walls into the communities where we work.
So Tim's now talking about how they're addressing COVID and bringing their teams back in once it's safe, which is pretty good. Probably a good idea to wait until it's safe for that.
Apple Maps, for example, we now showcase vaccine site locations.
Apple Maps is showing vaccine site locations, which is cool. Thought they were going to make their own 5G modems for next year. They are talking about it. They bought the modem business from Intel, but I'm guessing that they're just not there yet. I thought they were going to potentially put these into the iPad Pros, but it looks like they haven't done that. What time on Friday do you think the store will open for orders? Normally it's like 6 a.m. or 5 a.m. Cupertino time, so whatever that works out to in your time zone. I think in New York it works out to about like, is it 9 a.m., 8 a.m., something like that. Linda, can I boot it? I haven't tried it, but I don't have a keyboard or a mouse for my Classic 2 over here. So, £21 though, I can't really grumble at that. That's probably about $27.
Good afternoon, everyone. We are extremely pleased to report record results.
Right, we've just gone to the CFO now, so we've moved away from Timmy.
In the macro environment.
So pretty much all of the chance of getting anything pointing towards a product is kind of over with this. Not that we expected too much. 8 a.m. New York time, that makes sense. Stephen in the UK, I believe it's about 2 p.m. In fact, no, if it's 8 a.m. in New York, that's 1 p.m. over here. So it should be about 1 p.m. that stuff goes on sale on Friday.
With all-time records for Mac and for services, and March quarter records for iPhone and for wearables, home and accessories.
So this last quarter is an all-time record for Mac sales. Just bear in mind that that is January, February, March, and that is the best they've ever had for Mac sales. This is how much Apple Silicon has made a difference to what's going on in the industry. This is like the huge impact that it's made.
Level of sales performance and the unmatched loyalty of our customers, our installed base of active devices reach a new all-time record in each of our major product categories.
Golden S, can you move your editing setup and start editing on your Macintosh? Definitely won't make the Mac crash and decrease video quality after you get a mouse and keyboard. Yeah, definitely. I like this little bad boy. Now, I have got a couple of different option plans for this. So the first one is, if it is bootable, I would love to get it up and running and find a way of either using a new-ish mouse and keyboard with it, potentially, whether there's an adapter of some sort that I can either make or purchase. And the other thing that I would be interested in is if it is beyond repair and not kind of viably something that could become what it used to be, is finding a way to get a different display in there and putting an M1 inside it. Because I think it would be just awesome to have an M1 Macintosh Classic 2. So that's my second option there. If I can do it in a non-destructive way and just take the things out and put them back in another time, that might be another plan. But yeah, I'd quite like to. Maybe even if the CRT could be reused. I mean, I think that's probably a little bit
diluted
a
earnings
little
per share
bit
of
ambitious,
$1.40,
but I think it would be cool.
operating cash flow of $24 billion were all March quarter records by a wide margin.
So Apple has absolutely smashed this. I'm just going to check in on Mac Rumors because they'll probably have had all of the other stuff ready to go. But where are we? So for this quarter, iPhone net sales slightly down from what they were in the last quarter, which makes sense because obviously that was the launch quarter. Gross margin for the quarter, 42.5%, which is up from 38.4% a year ago. Dividend being paid out, that makes sense. Just over half of all of their revenues came from iPhone. So that's a big chunk. Where is the Mac? Mac is like 10% of what Apple does in terms of revenues. iPad is nearly as big as the Mac. It's like 8%, 8.7%. Services is now 18.9%. So services basically makes Apple double the amount of money that the Mac does. In terms of year on year, yep, you're right, that is the important one, and we're up from 50 something. Let's have a quick look at the actual numbers. So we're up in total from 58.3 billion to 89.5 billion year on year, which is just insane. Absolutely insane. Oh, Linda, you absolute sweetheart. If you can find system discs for me, that would be incredible. But let's just make sure I can find a keyboard for it first, because that might be just as important. But yeah, so Apple is doing all right. It looks like they've got another quarter in them before they go bust. That's a good thing to know. Yeah, Mac revenue is up 70% in the last quarter, and iPad revenue up 79%, which is just insane. Bear in mind that iPad revenue is up that much, up 79%, and that doesn't include any of this iPad Pro stuff that we've just heard about, because they don't go on sale until this Friday, and then they don't ship for another couple of weeks after that. So that's a bit crazy. AirPods Pro and AirPods 2 have got a firmware update, which I wasn't aware of. I've just seen about this on Mac Rumors. So I'm not sure if it actually does much, but that's something that I will check up on, because we've got a couple of new pairs of Generation 2 here in the house. Was the iPad Air the driver, Thomas? Probably, to be completely honest. Although, that being said, they will have sold more of the base iPad than anything else, especially because it came out in September, so run up to Christmas, but obviously this doesn't include Christmas stuff. I think there's been a massive amount of sales of the base one, the $329, and the iPad Air is definitely doing really well, but it probably won't have sold the same sort of volume as the base one. Stephen, Apple can afford to fight all these lawsuits. Yes. AirPods Max have a few problems. What's going on with those? Let us know down in the chat. Because I know that there were certainly some issues early on with it, but yeah. Kyle Dodds, keen to see what M1X MacBooks do to revenue in that segment. Well, hopefully we won't have too long to wait. Hopefully we should know at the end of the next. Let's see, so it's going to be April, May, June, so they might not hit the next one. But this chunk that we're in now is actually what's going to get hit by the M1 iPad Pro. It's going to get hit by the new iMacs. I think these new iMacs are going to do really well. They're not going to sell as well as any of the like the MacBook Air or the MacBook Pro or the Mac Mini that we've got with... no, they'll sell better than the Mac Mini, but they won't sell as well as the other two, I don't think, with M1. But we will see. Base iPad is a good deal. Yeah, it's a cracking deal. And this is why we've been kind of discussing as well, if Apple decided that they wanted to make that Mac SE, if they wanted to make a Mac Mini SE, it would be really interesting, because basically you're putting an iPad processor into it, in essence. So, you know, once you strip away a display and a touch layer and a battery and all of that kind of stuff, the speakers, like, you've only got the main board and a little box to keep it in, and then you've got what is basically a Mac now. Stephen, looking fresh, Dave. Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, I did cut my own hair. It's just the situation we're in these days. It's very difficult to kind of get to an actual barber's. They're all very busy because they've just reopened, so it had to be done. There was just too much going on. There was quite a lot of hair up here. Did you see the Galaxy ProBook 360? It looks like a MacBook Pro and an iPad in one, but it runs Windows. Pesto, I'm wondering if you're like sad because it runs Windows, or sad because you want a MacBook and iPad all in one. Because I really don't think that I would want it if it runs Windows. Just saying. But also, touch on a Windows type device doesn't work well. Most people that have a touchscreen laptop have never used the touchscreen on it, or they've used it a couple of times just to like play a song or something. But in general, the people that buy these kind of 2-in-1s don't tend to use the touch or the kind of tablet mode with them most of the time, because it doesn't work well, because it's not designed for it. Thomas E, if they brought the if they brought back the MacBook 12-inch, it would sell a huge amount. I think it would, and we were kind of talking about this the other day on Twitter, that I wonder, I know we've obviously now seen the M1 move over from Macs into the iPads. I wonder if Apple might consider putting an A-series chip, like an A14 that we have in the iPad Air, into something like the 12-inch MacBook that's even more power efficient, doesn't need as much raw power, which is fine. But I wonder if that's something that would happen. So let me know down in the comments what you think about that. 12-inch MacBook, just with an A14 in it, not an A14X, not an M1. Running macOS, maybe can't run the Pro apps, so Final Cut, Logic, that kind of thing. But let's say it starts at $7.99. Is that something that you guys would buy?
We have in our business today and into the future. Our board has authorized an additional $90 billion for share repurchases. We're also raising
Goldeness has just written 12-inch MacBook. Yep, that's what we're talking about.
cents per share, and we continue to plan.
I am trying to turn off the slow mode, but I don't think I can once we're going, unfortunately.
As we move ahead to the June quarter, I'd like to review our outlook, which includes the types of forward-looking information that Tejas referred to at the beginning of the call. Given the continued uncertainty around the world in the near term, we are not providing revenue guidance, but we are sharing...
I wouldn't buy it, but my mum would. Yeah, I can see that. I think it is kind of, it's the kind of Mac that you would buy for people that don't necessarily need a great deal of stuff in a Mac. Thomas E, yeah, I might. I mean, it's the one that I would probably buy, because I don't need a great deal on the go, because I have the Mac Mini on the desktop, and I've got my big displays. I've got all the stuff that I need here. But to have something that I can take with me that has got my Dropbox sync to it, all that kind of thing, that would be awesome for me. And maybe it would be an App Store only type thing, so it could be a little bit like Windows 10S, was it? That was like the built for ARM one originally, and then you could only use the Windows App Store. Like, that might work. Kyle Dodds, imagine M1X Apple TV with titles ported from Xbox and PlayStation. I mean, we can imagine that all we want, but it's a licensing issue, and as much as anything else, it's a completely different architecture to any of the other consoles and stuff. But, I mean, I would love the idea, but actually, when we were talking about the Apple TV today, we were looking at the fact that the A12 is actually very slightly faster than the A10X that was in there before, but it is a current processor that Apple is making for other stuff. But I also think that the reason which this only came to me afterwards is that the A10X actually has a fan in the Apple TV, which the Apple TV HD doesn't, which is the A8 version. And I've got a feeling that the A12 that they've just put in runs a lot cooler than the A10X, and as a result of that, it's going to be fanless. And I think that is another reason that they've upgraded it because it's a simpler and cheaper thing to build. So let me know what your thoughts are about that in the comments. Andrew Hornback, 12-inch MacBook with limited capabilities sounds like a mobile terminal, which would be a great idea if Apple was going to offer a cloud infrastructure to connect to. Well, I mean, we've got iCloud, so a lot of your stuff can kind of be in the cloud, but you would definitely still need to have your operating system and that kind of stuff locally. It would also be a really good option for a MacBook, the first MacBook to have 5G inside, maybe. Just a thought. Golden S, the size of the 12-inch MacBook is too cursed for me to the point where I can't even buy it. I'll stick to my 3rd gen HP Pavilion. Oh no, no. Not HP. Andrew Hornback, Windows 10 S is an abomination, serious pain to support in an enterprise. Yeah, I can understand that. Yeah, I mean, I wasn't saying it should run Windows 10 S, I was saying something along the lines of what they did in terms of the limitations that they put in place to almost not really handicap it, but also to make sure that it would be able to run on the stuff that was in there. Golden S would you love the idea of a gaming MacBook? What do you think the processor and GPU would be? 3rd gen Intel chip. I hope not. I can't see them doing a gaming MacBook specifically unless that is the MacBook Pro with M1X.
In China, things have moved quickly to 5G.
Okay, so Tim's kind of defending that they're into the Q&A part now, which is actually probably a little bit more interesting than some of the other stuff that they've been doing.
Adopt, it's slower to gain coverage in 5G.
Okay, thank you. And then, Luca, can you talk about gross margin? I mean, 42% is higher than it's been, that I can kind of remember actually at this point. So maybe if you talk about...
They're just asking about gross margin at 42%, which is just huge, absolutely insane. Just crazy numbers.
Component costs or the logistics costs that obviously were overshadowed by currency and other things. Thank you.
Just going to tweet this out.
2.5% during March, and we guided to similar, slightly lower levels for June. So for March, we were up 270 basis points sequentially, really driven by 3 major factors. Cost savings, which have been good for us.
So they've had some cost savings, stuff like that.
Strong mix on iPhone, but in general.
Right, Microsoft xCloud. Yep, that's probably the best way to game on a Mac right now. But yeah, come to the M1X, and we have got plenty of power on tap. Do you think the iPad Pro, this is from Pesto, do you think the iPad Pro 2021 1TB 12.9 would be good for doing presentations and hooking up to projectors versus MacBook Pro? Trying to decide whether to keep MacBook Pro 11 2020 and just get a MacBook Pro or trade in the 11-inch. For presentations and stuff, actually the iPad's really, really good. Keynote works great on it. You can do some really interesting stuff. You can also, of course, mark it up by hand using Apple Pencil, which looks really nice on presentations when you've got some handwritten stuff on there as well. I think it would be a really good choice. Carl Dodds, interesting that the chip running cooler and dropping the fan. Yeah, that's just something that came to mind. I think that's probably the most likely thing because the A12 is designed to go in an iPhone, sorry. So it's never going to run as hot as an iPad chip, and it's also not going to have the sustained, heat. I don't think. You can run Xbox games on an iPad. Is that through browser stuff? I'm guessing. Yeah, streaming them in the browser. Yep, that makes sense. Linda, my Apple TV predates the HD period. I'm a little behind. So are you on the 720p, like the 2nd gen original, or are you on the 3rd gen? Linda, let me know. Because we've still got a 3rd gen in one of the bedrooms. Kyle Dodds, biggest question I have is how are they going to do discrete graphics in the Pro devices? Will it be SoC? So, this is an interesting one, and I honestly don't think that there is much of a distinction to be made between an integrated and a discrete graphics chip when it's all going to be low power because it's using ARM. It's all using the ARM architecture, so it's not going to heat up as much as the x86 based stuff that we have right now. So that's kind of normally the reason that you have it separated, is so that you can put in more power. If you've got the power and you can have it integrated, then that's the best of both worlds, because you're accessing all of that same unified memory. And although the integrated graphics in the M1 and the future chips will probably not be as like raw powerful, the fact that it has instant access to the same memory as the CPU, nothing's got to be copied across, that's part of the reason that it tends to work more quickly. S. Sartorius Maximus, hello. Oh, hey man, how you doing? Linda, is Apple assembling any products in the US? I think right now they assemble Mac Pro towers. I believe they are aiming to assemble more in the US. That's what I understand. Stephen Huxtable, it's a shame Apple can't use NVIDIA. Yeah, I mean, there is that, but I also think Apple's possibly going to overtake NVIDIA quite quickly on the graphics side for their integrated stuff in terms of performance. I think that's going to happen. Apple did use NVIDIA for quite some time, but then NVIDIA was giving them dodgy chips and then wouldn't help with the recalls and stuff, so Apple just kind of stopped talking to them. How tall am I? Too small. I am sitting down right now. I'm about 5'8", I think. So, like, fairly average. Slightly below average. Yeah, so back on the NVIDIA thing, yeah, they kind of stopped using NVIDIA because of these kind of issues they had with the graphics cards, and then NVIDIA also wouldn't allow them to do metal on their chips. They all wanted it all to go through their own drivers, and that was a big chunk of it too. Does Apple have the ability to make their own GPUs for the Mac Pro? No need to pump the battery all the way up to 850 watts. And why can't Apple use NVIDIA? So we've just covered why they can't use NVIDIA. In terms of GPUs, yes, obviously, with the cores that they've been making already, we've done a little bit of calculations. We have got a whole video that talks about exactly this. But when we worked it out, Apple is developing up to 128 core version of their GPU right now, which is the one that's designed to go into the Mac Pro. That'll be a 32 Firestorm core and 4 efficiency core SoC, plus 128 graphics cores, and yeah, we worked it out, and the performance is somewhere between a 3080 and a 3090. But then someone told me that we'd underestimated it, so it could actually be better than a 3090. How crazy would an M1X chip in a 32-inch iMac be if it doubles the power? So, yeah, it is going to be looking at probably 35 watts, and yeah, it looks like from the kind of leaked benchmarks from CPU Monkey that I don't believe particularly, they were saying that the performance on Cinebench would actually be about 100% better.
Like services and Macs later this year. So I know you don't guide beyond or provide an outlook beyond the next quarter, but can you talk from a high level?
So I was just listening in there to some of the questions that have been asked. They're asking about like long-term prospects and stuff for Apple, but they will never tell you anything beyond kind of the next quarter in general. Just realised this might just. There we go. That's probably a little bit better. I'm almost filling the screen now. Stephen, of course, NVIDIA are buying ARM. Maybe. They're definitely in the process of it, but there's an awful lot of people that are trying to put an end to that. So the UK government has stepped in just recently. There's a few other bits. But yes, NVIDIA are definitely trying to buy ARM. We will see. 3rd gen 2013 Apple TV. Yeah, Linda, that's the same one that we use in our bedroom upstairs. So, it still works. Although it's just lost YouTube, I think. And there's some other stuff that natively won't anymore, but you can still AirPlay to it. So that's kind of fine. Benchmarks don't score... benchmarks scores don't double if power is doubled. So, depends on what the benchmark is. So, with something like Cinebench, yes, it kind of does, because you're not doubling the power, you're doubling the number of cores, and in the way that Cinebench works is it renders 1 tile per thread that you've got available. So, if you've got 4 4 performance cores sitting there, you'll be rendering 4 tiles at a time of the image. If you've got 8, then you'll be rendering 8 at the same time. So actually it does scale quite well for that kind of application, but not for everything. So for sustained loads, you're obviously going to get a lot more heat in that one little spot, which makes it a little bit trickier. Do you see Apple creating a game console to support PC, Xbox, PS5 games? Well, number one, they can't support Xbox or PS5 games, because Xbox and PS5 kind of have that covered, and one of the things that game consoles don't like is other people coming in and pretending to be them to run their stuff. But in terms of running PC games, you can kind of already do it on an M1. I know it's not a console. Apple did have a games console way back in the day called the Pippin, which is pretty terrible, but they've tried. Andrew Hornbuck, Soterios benchmarks have a lot of different factors involved. Doubling the results linearly may need more than double the power. Yeah, so it does. It makes a big difference on what kind of benchmark we're talking about. As I say, Cinebench is one of the ones that does scale fairly linearly with number of cores. Okay, the stuff they're talking about now in this earnings call is just like really dull. They're talking about like trade receivables and stuff.
Or were there some supply disruptions during the quarter that caused you to drain inventory and create that tightness that you're talking about for June?
So they're now talking about whether they're likely to see a reduction in the amount of sales that they're doing because of the virus kind of coming to an end, which we will see, because obviously in certain parts of the world it's just got worse than ever. In other parts of the world, you know, things are improving drastically. So we will see what the actual outcome of that is. But yeah, sneaky Rosetta for console games. Yeah, I mean, yeah, but it'd be quite illegal, because you can't just port other people's games to your system and go, yeah, it's alright, everyone can play. What would have happened if Pippin was a massive success? Games consoles would be probably terrible now, because the games on it were awful. And yeah, if that had been a success and the market had loved it, then maybe we wouldn't have got good development. But we'll see. So yeah, the CFO is now talking about the fact that they've reduced their stock holding on iPhones, because they know that like the first quarter to 1.5 quarters that the iPhone is available, that's when they're going to be doing all the volume, and then it kind of drops down and drops down and drops down as the next iPhone approaches. So that contributed to some of the reason that their gross profit was so high, because they'd got less stock on hand, so they'd not had to buy as many products in order to sell what they'd sold.
Can we have the next question, please?
So next question just coming up.
Thank you. We'll take our next question from Wamsi Mohan with Bank of America.
Bank of America. This one's going to be a doozy.
Thank you. Tim, your content offerings are still at very compelling price points, and you've seen other content providers, whether it be Spotify, Hulu, Netflix, all announce price increases recently.
So that this might be interesting. So they're talking about the fact that Hulu, Netflix, and Spotify have all increased their prices, and they're basically asking, will Apple do that? This they might actually answer.
That'd be great. I'll follow up for Luca.
TV Plus. Let me start with TV Plus. TV Plus is going very well. As you know, the objective and the philosophy that we've had on TV Plus is to create high-quality original content and to be one of the most desired platforms for storytellers. And I see that happening day by day as we sign more shows and more storytellers, including Malala, as I mentioned in my opening comments. To date, we've received, the Apple Originals have received 352 award nominations.
So Apple Originals have received 352 awards nominations so far. So it's talking about how Apple TV Plus is going pretty well. If the virus ends, then laptop sales would go down. Some people like me, won't use their 3rd gen i7 that's baking eggs at this point for a very long time. According to the concept of your render boy Apple tomorrow, we may get Apple G4-like Cube Mac Pro. How viable do you think this concept is? So that's not actually according to him. That came through from John Prosser, who'd seen some stuff like that. Then I asked if he would render it out for us. Now, that's what the G4 Cube actually looks like. This is where the ground is, so it kind of does actually look like it's floating in the air, which is pretty cool. I don't think they would be putting it into a Perspex box again, which is kind of sad because it looks pretty awesome. But if they do it, maybe I will produce a Perspex box that it could sit in, just because it would be awesome. But yeah, it seems like a legit concept. We'll see if we got anything right about the airflow or anything like that. Hope we get some great updates to HomeKit at WWDC. I wish they would give it more love. Now, HomeKit has actually got a lot of love just recently. The big problem for me is I don't know what I would do to start on it, and that's something that I might actually do as a bit of a series, is kind of getting started with smart homes and HomeKit, because I've got an Apple TV which can work as a hub. I've got a HomePod Mini that can work as a hub, but then I don't know what I need to do next, and it's all the smart home stuff is so confusing because it doesn't tell you what it works with particularly well, or if you need a bridge or a hub or something else that's specific to link it in. It's an absolute mess at the moment, but that's one of the reasons I haven't got into it yet, but I would love to.
The constraints come from the semiconductor shortages that are affecting, many industries, and
the CFO is saying that the semiconductor constraints are affecting Apple, which is surprising to me.
iPad and Mac. For Mac, for example, if you just to keep it into context, the last 3 quarters of Mac have been the best 3 quarters ever in the history of the product. Right?
So he's just saying that the last 3 quarters for the Mac have been the best 3 quarters of all time for the Mac.
Certainly is favored by the working from home and learning from home environment, but also by the incredible amount of new products and innovation that we put into the products that we launched during the last...
How do I feel about outlets reporting on the leaked documents from Quanta? This is from Stephen. So this is something that I was kind of on the fence about. I've told people what was leaked. I haven't mentioned the name of the group that did it, because I think that's all we can kind of do, is like reporting on the information that's out there, talking about what's going on is kind of the best thing that I could do. But I don't want to give them any publicity specifically. So hopefully that kind of makes sense, like the reason that we've done it the way that we have. And then a lot of other outlets have said pretty much the same thing, so I think I'm kind of in the right place, on the right side of things. But it is a very grey area. Esoterius Maximus, regarding the fine new addition to your vintage Mac collection, how could somebody list such a vintage Devi? Don't know what Devi means, but so this was actually the lady that sold it to me. It was from her late husband's collection, and she's got another one that's being repaired at the moment, which should be working fine, and it's got a whole bunch of stuff. So fingers crossed, I might keep my eye out for that one coming up as well. App HomeKit and smart home services are very, very rare in my country, as no HomeKit accessories ship here. Yeah, it's a little bit spotty at the moment, but hopefully that'll go better soon. Stephen Huxtable, I don't like that they're giving criminals support for their deeds. Well, actually, the only support you could give them is actually paying them. And as far as we know, nobody did. So, the information is out there, and it actually, the stuff that we saw was only confirming stuff that we already kind of had leaked. There was nothing kind of unique about what they were saying, but it's nice to have a little bit of evidence that maybe corroborates what we're expecting. Esoterius Maximus, devices and monitor. Yeah, I've been toying with that idea. It's a very low res thing. It's like 512 by 380 resolution, so it's barely anything. It's smaller than a low res YouTube video, and black and white, I think. Andrew Hornback, shouldn't be surprising given the number of chips required in building a system. Apple Silicon SoC doesn't do everything yet. It's close. It's getting pretty close. It needs to have the more I/O and stuff like that. I do think that when we get to the bigger chips, it's probably going to be chiplet design, so they're going to put maybe just 2 of the M1 sort of performance packages onto a single die. Maybe we will see. Kyle Dodds, I've just started after I got HomePods in 2 rooms where it's smart plugs. To automate mosquito machines and some lights and a gate monitor. It's been really good using Siri more. Yeah, I've been using Siri more recently as well, but driving and stuff. In South Africa, and and have to import most things, which sucks. Yeah, that does suck. They're just talking about semiconductor supplies again, so I just want to listen into this one.
That you were able to beat by, I think it was $11 million or so, and then I had a follow-up.
They're asking how they got the supply.
We did not have a material supply shortage in Q2.
Uh-huh.
And
Tim Cook saying they did not have a material supply shortage in Q2.
Collapsing all of your buffers and offsets. And that happens all the way through the supply chain. And so that enables you to go a bit higher than what we were expecting to sell when we went into the quarter 90 days ago.
So saying the sales were above what they expected, but they did have enough chips.
I know there's a lot of moving parts, Tim, but with the economy sort of reopening here in the U.S., and you mentioned about supply constraints possibly on the Mac and the iPad, I was curious if I could get your thoughts, maybe just color-wise, on what you would expect for those 2 categories, Macs and the iPads, in the second half of this year.
Okay, he's asking about predicting stuff, which they don't do. So, thoughts on the Trashcan Mac Pro? I really like the design of it. I thought it was super cool when they initially released it. They had Pixar using it, and they were pushing it around in like a filing cabinet to disguise it. But they should have just followed up, and that kind of design would work really well with Apple Silicon, to be fair, because it just doesn't heat up as much. The 32 watching and 16 likes, 50% of the people here too immersed in the show. I don't know, like, this is a pretty good ratio for normal on this kind of thing. But, you know,
Thank you. We'll take our next question.
I can deal with that. Right, let's see what the next question is.
Please go ahead.
Yeah, thanks for taking my question, and congrats on a fantastic quarter. First question for Tim or Luke. The Greater China sales are very strong in the March quarter. Can you give some color?
Oh, they're just talking about
which hardware products or services
China now.
the solid outperformance in China, and then I have a follow-up.
Do you think they'll ever consider bringing back Apple Airport? I have a theory on this, which is that we found that they had some hidden sensors, humidity and temperature sensors in the HomePod Mini. I think it would be pretty awesome if all of the HomePods and Apple TV and all that kind of thing basically created Apple's own mesh network. I thought that would be a really cool way for them to kind of build out network coverage across your house, because you're going to put these things in different rooms. That makes sense anyway, because you want the audio there, and if you've got one of these in each of your rooms, that could also boost your network. So let me know what you guys think of that theory. It's not something that they've probably got the hardware in there for at the moment, but something in like maybe a next generation, it could become the HomePod and a mesh network. The ratio got even better, 20 likes. My comment is working. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Golden S, what is Apple Airport? So Apple Airport was their original router series, which, let me see, I've got one around here somewhere. In fact, this one's a time capsule. So this is basically a airport which has got a hard drive inside it, and you could use this for Time Machine, wirelessly, and on the back you've got all your network ports. So that was what that did. It's also got a USB port on the back, because you can connect it to a printer to make it into a wireless printer. But yeah, you could basically use this as your home router. Just plug your modem straight into there. So that was what that was. This one I think had like a 500 gig spinning hard drive. It was not particularly big, but they went up to about 3 terabytes. I think was the maximum they ever did.
Three questions and scrutiny. We have to make sure that we're telling our story and why we do what we do, and we're very focused on.
So Apple is saying that Apple One performed above what they expected. Looked like the alien ship. Yeah, there was a round airport first, which I don't know if I've got a way to show you guys, but actually here we go. We could just do it on iPad.
And move and are flexible with the times. For example, on the App Store, as you know, just a couple of quarters ago, we lowered the commission rate for small developers to 15%. So that was an example of moving with the times. And
here we go.
We got a great reception to that. And so,
so that was the original airport router.
I think it's very important that we
not beautiful, if I'm honest. They made a lot prettier stuff.
The idea behind curating the App Store in order to get the privacy and security that are...
What software update would that be to bring the HomePods and those sensors into HomeKit?
Very straightforward manner.
Yeah, the software should be available to bring that stuff in. I have a feeling that the sensors aren't completely dormant, but if you had air conditioners in the same room as a HomePod, it would probably use those sensors to make them usable, if that makes sense. Carl Dodds, apparently the sensors are already there. Yes, they are. The hardware is there, they're just not being used at the moment as far as we know. Andrew Hornbeck got a mesh of 5 of the Airport Extremes here. Works quite nicely, no network cables outside of the garage. Cool. Golden S, they've made a lot prettier than that abomination called the original Apple Airport. Yeah, it's not the best. I quite like the one that looks a bit like a Mac Mini but in white. That was fine by me. Okay, if anyone's got any more questions, we will do those. If not, I'm going to kind of wrap this stream up, I think, in about 7 minutes on the hour, just because I'm really, really tired and need to get some rest. I don't know about anyone else, but I've had a pretty crazy day. And I've actually got to go and do real job work tomorrow. Back out on the road. Crazy. Also, I've got a few things that I've got in for review at the moment, so I'll just let you know what those are. So the first one is actually the mic that you've been listening to me on today, so I think that's been pretty good. I've also got the ESR... Oh, have I got the case for it? I have somewhere. But I've got the ESR Halo mount, which is a car mount that uses MagSafe to charge and mount your iPhone in the car. And then this has also come through to me, which is like an Android TV box that actually looks an awful lot like an Apple TV. In fact, let's crack it open for the first time here. Use a USB cable. So I'm not to be trusted with knives. Sartorius Maximus really have to go. It's way past bedtime. Yeah, I'm not surprised, dude. Must be like midnight there, right? Wow. I just want to see how much this actually looks like an Apple TV. I think it looks probably like... Whoa, my goodness, it's a lot smaller than I thought. Wow. Is that the whole thing? Yeah. It's really little. I thought it was going to be like Apple TV sized. But yeah, apparently this. There's your HDMI port, just to give you a bit of context for how small it is. And it is powered by USB... No? Yes. USB micro on the back. So that's exciting. And the tiniest HDMI cable. And then the remote is like substantially bigger than the box, which is exciting. But yeah, that's another one I've got to review. That's probably going to go upstairs to replace that very old Apple TV that we've got there. Maybe. Or maybe we'll get one of the new Apple TV boxes to go downstairs and then move the HD one upstairs. By the way, the calibrating your TV colours with iPhone now is really, really cool. I'll take it. Cool. What else have we got here? What if Apple made the stand part of the Pro Display XDR, have a wireless charger, one for the iPhone and one for the AirPods and one for the Apple Watch? Well, for the price they should have done it in the first place, but I've been saying as well for a while that they should put a MagSafe charger into the foot of the iMac. Apparently they haven't, but that would have been pretty cool. Yes, Andrew, it does look like the old 3G hotspots. I think I used to have one that was like black and yellow that I had with work at some point. But yeah, I can see the stream is kind of coming to an end here naturally, so I am going to say goodnight. Thank you all for joining. It has been an absolute pleasure to talk to you. There will be a normal show tomorrow at 1 PM. If you've got any iCave Answers questions that you would like me to answer, please do let me know down in the comments. And yeah, I think that's kind of it. Kyle, if your Apple TV isn't kicking in with the second step, make sure that your iPhone and stuff is all up to date as well, and then restart your Apple TV and just try it again from there. That should hopefully fix it for you. Right, guys, thank you so much. I'm wrapping it up. My eyes are falling asleep. Thank you all so much, and I will speak to you all soon. See you on tomorrow's show, guys.